are expected to seek out the best.
2 words to describe the activity. The Yoruba Unity Forum is conducted.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa. We break the news. Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV Primetime
Our
News.
24-hour news station.
Hello everyone, it's Core Digest exclusive to Core TV News, and we're reaching you live from our Lagos studios. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Looks as if the days of the long queues at filling stations are now numbered, as the Federal Executive Council as well as other relevant stakeholders are putting heads together at this very moment to ensure that things are done rightly. As a matter of fact, the federal government has issued sovereign debt notes of 30 billion naira to oil marketers out of the outstanding amount of 185 billion naira. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, said this after a meeting with oil marketers in Abuja, which also had Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele in attendance. She added that an additional 100 billion naira would soon be released to the marketers.
I mentioned I want to confirm that the marketers are here. We will pay them the exchange rate differentials that have been calculated by PPPRA. Already today, we're ready to release 30 billion from that, and we'll do more on top of that tomorrow as soon as we receive the numbers from PPPRA. But more importantly, the SDNs, we have calculated, as I said, I want to repeat the numbers. In December 2nd and 31st, we paid 320 billion naira to marketers. Since then, the total that has been finalized by PPPR, as you know, these things keep coming in on a rolling basis. What we have on hand now that we owe is 185 billion. Of that amount, we are issuing sovereign debt notes, SDNs, which is the instrument with which we pay the marketers, to the tune of 100 billion. And so they are here. We've had a chance to talk to ourselves. So we will issue that shortly. They have actually
Earlier, after the Federal Executive Council, the minister also was of the opinion that Mr. President is assuring that everything is done to make sure that the queues at the filling stations dwindle as soon as possible. She says that Mr. President has also directed that speedy action should be taken to restore normalcy. The minister added that after paying oil marketers 320 billion naira in December 2014, the government is now working out modalities to clear the outstanding 185 billion naira. So the question that comes to the lips of many now is, how do we substantiate the earlier claims by Femi Fani-Kayode that the cause of food scarcity at this time should be laid solely on the shoulders of the opposition or Progressives Congress? Well, talking about the APC at this very interesting time, the APC has also raised another alarm. You see, in this very critical electionary period, one thing that characterized the major parties is raising one alarm or the other. Of course, the APC is now describing what it calls steps being taken by the PDP-led federal government to ensure that the general elections is in its favor and subverts the will of Nigerians. National publicity of the party, Lai Mohammed, made this allegation in Lagos while speaking to journalists. Now let's meet our correspondent, Patience Ajiboye, who was there and filed in this report.
There's a plot to transfer a humongous amount of money into the bank account of the INEC chairman, Professor Jega, and then claim that the money came from the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the APC in order to justify the ongoing plan to sack Professor Jega so he won't organize the elections. There's a plan to use some political parties that are satellites of the PDP to push for the postponement of the election again. The intention is to make sure Jega's tenure expires before the polls so that they can appoint a malleable card-carrying member of the PDP as INEC chair to conduct the polls. They must be held on their own terms. That is, no PVCs, no card readers, no Jega, and the military must be deployed to intimidate voters.
Yes.
The detailed plans by the desperate administration and the PDP are part of the massive intelligence we are receiving daily from patriotic Nigerians within and outside the government, who are eager to see the organization of a free, fair, credible, and violence-free elections that will catapult Nigeria to the League of Truly Democratic Nations.
So the allegations goes on, but very quickly, of course, trust the PDP to react to all those claims. It's saying also that its party, the People's Democratic Party, unlike what the APC alleges, is not strategizing to shift the elections date, and also insist that it has no plan whatsoever to either frame the chairman of INEC, Atahiru Jega, or arrest anyone before the election. Spokesman for the PDP's presidential campaign team, Femi Fani-Kayode, maintained that the latest claims by the APC showed that it has lost focus. He also argued at the news conference in Abuja that the opposition party is now resorting to falsehood to gain public sympathy after realizing that it will lose the March 28 elections.
The truth is that we are not strategizing to shift the election dates. We are not trying to frame up Jega. We have no plans to plant any illegal substance in the bags of any of the leaders of the APC whenever they travel. We are not trying to compromise the telephone numbers of any of the INEC officials. President Jonathan is not planning to arrest opposition leaders before the elections. The presidency has not retained the services of any foreigner to corrupt or compromise INEC computers on election day, and we are not planning to do any of the other reprehensible things that they have alleged. The truth is that if they were in our position, these are the sort of sordid things that they would do. Such dirty tactics and filthy things are a way of life and an art with them. But for us, such things are alien, perverse, and unacceptable.
So indeed, are the politicians running out of ideas on how to go about their campaigns? You recall that I had a legal practitioner here yesterday who says that it looks as if the electorate and indeed the Nigerian people also could have created such an atmosphere that is allowing such situation like this thrive, that probably you and I have not demanded issue-based campaigns from these political parties. Because just wait to hear this. The APC in another report has also described the wife of Mr. President, Patience Jonathan, as an incredibly crude woman. It also wants the president to call her to order after she described the APC presidential candidate as brain dead at a recent campaign rally. So if someone is not saying that Buhari is too old, the other person is saying that Mr. President isn't as bright as he should be, and the issues go on and on like that. And you begin to wonder the quality of thinking of these people at the top. And of course, probably many will say every nation deserves the kind of leadership that it has. But I want to be sure that there are still brighter and more analytical and logical Nigerians who can decipher what is going on at the top. Now, the APC camp is saying that it was discourteous and inexcusable for a wife of any president to make such a false and infertile pronouncement about the health status of another man on account of politics. Now, let's leave that for a moment. We'll get back to it in the course of the show. You recall that Mr. President set the names of certain ministerial nominees to the Senate some days ago, and there's been a lot of hula baloo as we got a particular name, Musiliu Obanikoro, the former Minister of State for Defense. The opposition senators are saying no way, given the role that he played in a leaked audio file on the June 21 Ekiti election. The Senate, however, has deferred the confirmation hearing for former Minister of State for Defense Musili Obanikoro, as well as 3 other ministerial nominees till next week. It screened 4 others within a period of 2.5 hours yesterday, and the senators earlier also went into a lengthy closed-door session where issues surrounding opposition to Obanikoro's nomination were reportedly discussed. Before the screening, senators actually went into a closed-door session lasting about 2 hours where several issues were discussed, including what the opposition APC Senate calls why Obanikoro should not be given this chance, not again.
We want you to take a bow and go, and let me also remind you that the essence of this tradition is that when you become a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you represent all your actions will impact directly or indirectly on the Senate. And therefore, we expect you to excel in whatever ministry you are given to and to be exemplary, because we will continue to watch you, and I'm sure that you do us very, very proud in the cabinet. As is the tradition, you can now take a bow and go.
As the Deputy Vice-Chancellor administration, you act in the absence of your Vice-Chancellor. So those dates indicated were actually dates that I acted as Vice-Chancellor when my Vice-Chancellor was away.
Toll gates can provide an avenue for scrutiny, checking the vehicles and the passengers and making sure that some undesirable elements don't pass through such roads. In any case, to fight insurgency and deal with other security issues within a specific area, those charged with the responsibilities of manning security in such areas must factor in such checkpoints into their operational plans.
My last public office was as a National Commissioner in INEC, 1999 to 2004.
These answered questions from distinguished senators on a number of topical issues. The committee screened the following nominees: Senator Patricia Naomi Akwashike, Nasarawa; Professor Nicholas Akase Ada, Benue; Colonel Augustine Akubondo, retired, Abia; and Engineer Fidelis Nwankwo, Ebonyi. Further screening of nominees is deferred to next week. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you.
Okay, so answer across to see what happens next week, if indeed the former Minister of State for Defense, Musili Obanikoro, will be screened alongside all the 3 ministerial nominees. Now let's turn our attention to the operations of the Independent National Electoral Commission this morning. Prior to this time, there's been lots of opposition to the use of card readers. Initially, it was as a result of whether the Electoral Act really accommodates the use of electronic devices during election. Of course, the professor came to the floor of the Senate to say that electronic card readers wouldn't be used for election per se, but rather for accreditation. But this time around, INEC is to carry out field testing of these devices in 12 states, including Lagos, on March 7, because the opposition also have come up with claims like, why would you want to test run an electronic card reader with a major election on March 28 and April 11? Why didn't you try it out when we had staggered elections in places like Edo, Anambra, Osun, and Ekiti? Well, the exercise, INEC claims, will hold simultaneously in the states selected across all 6 geopolitical zones. INEC also revealed that over 55 million permanent voter cards, representing 80.24% of the total number of cards, have so far been collected nationwide. And as part of preparations for the general election, the Commission has now scheduled a series of meetings with resident electoral commissioners, political parties, as well as international observers in the coming week.
We are prepared for the elections proper. Each voting point, we have a card reader. And like we said, we are going to have what we call redundancies. There will be spares. If by chance anyone gets technically faulty, they will be quickly replaced. But I know that it will cover 12 of the 36 states and the FCT. Yes, so we have chosen 2 states in each geopolitical zone.
All right, now let's go to Ekiti, one of the 12 states selected to test the electronic card readers. Of course, according to INEC, this exercise will kickstart on the 7th day of March, and this is to experience how the card readers will perform in real-time election situation. Rashid has more on the address of the Ekiti Rec, Sam Olumeko, about the 7th of March test run of the device.
Arising from some misgivings of certain sections and stakeholders about the use of smart card readers for voter authentication, the Commission has decided that card readers should be put to test under real settings to determine the efficacy of the machine and identify problems. The field test has been scheduled to hold on Saturday, 7th March 2020. It will be conducted in one registration area only in 12 selected states of the Federation, of which Ekiti State happens to belong. The registration areas to be used for the exercise are expected to cut across rural, urban, humid, riverine, hot or cold regions. Also, polling units with more than 300 voters will be selected.
The use of of internet is not that critical in this exercise. It doesn't, prevent the accreditation stage, from going on. Even in a place where there is no internet at all, there's no services at all, the accreditation will go on successfully, and the election will proceed, and we'll have a good result.
Okay, March 7 is just around the corner, where Nigerians will find out how these card readers will work in real time, especially as there's much talk criticizing the use of these readers at this particular time. Well, good news, of course, prior to this time, many have asked the question, what exactly has been the role of the international community in helping Nigeria fight insurgency, especially with the myriad of promises that came after the abduction of over 200 Chibok girls in Borno? Well, a contingent of British Army is now in Nigeria, and they are here to build the capacity of operational level officers on counter-insurgency. The 5-day seminar opened at the Jaji Military Cantonment in Kaduna, with Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Kenneth Menima assuring Nigerians and the international community that more territories seized by Boko Haram will soon be liberated. He disclosed that the successes recorded in the last few days were as a result of joint operations between the Nigerian forces and their Cameroon, Chad and Niger counterparts. The Army Chief also expressed optimism that the seminar will further strengthen the long-standing partnership between the Nigerian and British armies.
Because we met it here in Jaji. Now, we have been training at a tactical level, and we requested that this training could be more beneficial if we upgrade it to the operational level. And that's the essence of today's seminar, and hence the theme, so that we upgrade the training to include the operational level training, so that formation commanders like GOCs, brigade commanders and so forth can also benefit from the military assistance training.
During the Second World War, Nigerian troops who had trained with their British brothers in arms saw action with the 1st West Africa Infantry Brigade and the 81st and 82nd West Africa Divisions, which fought in Burma. And my brigade, working in support of BMAT, has a relationship too. 7th Armoured Brigade, the antecedent of 7th Infantry Brigade, was in Burma in 1942, and it handed over to the 81st West African Division in August 1943. Also, I know that a number of Nigerian Army regiments, as part of the 3rd African Brigade, specifically the 6th, 7th and 12th battalions, served with distinction with the Chindits, as did the 6th Gurkha Rifles, the regiment I joined as a young officer, and a unit that is extremely close to my heart, as you might imagine. So it is on a solid foundation of joint successes together that we are able to focus on this seminar package that is planned for this week.
You recall that the U.S. training exercise for the Nigerian Army was terminated sometimes last year as a result of what is described as diplomatic strain between the Nigerian nation and the United States of America. There were issues as regards the U.S. isn't selling arms and ammunition as a result of what they call violation of human rights in northeast Nigeria. Let's see how this goes with the British, and we hope that this, of course, will last a little. We'll take a break now, and I'll be back with top stories making headline on some of Nigerian dailies. Stick around, don't go away.
It's another beautiful and exciting moment. Welcome to Political Arena, the most detailed and incisive political show.
You will see all sorts of politicians, even those who cannot manage their homes. We tell you to let them manage your lives. Look well, shine your eyes.
So stomach infrastructure is a way of life. Even if I cannot do anything, and I continue to help your stomach so that your life will keep on going. Stomach infrastructure is a way of life for me.
I should ask you, what is going right in this country? Is it education? Is it security? Infrastructure? Is it healthcare? What is going right? Absolutely nothing.
We mean to win Lagos. PDP is going to win Lagos in 2015.
INEC has colluded with the presidency, the opposing party, to rig this election from the data to the end.
The 2015 general elections must be the best.
The good, bad, ugly and beautiful sides of the Nigerian political system. Join me every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. on Core TV News. Nigerians encourage corruption besides during first up the punch newspaper. Nigerian governor forum calls for Okonjo Iweala's resignation. Page 2 of the punch newspaper.
The dailies every day on Core TV News.
Thanks for joining us again on Core Digest Thursday. To review the dailies with me this morning, I have Chairman, Coalition Against Corrupt Leaders, DEBO, ADEDIRAN. Thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
On Core Digest.
Yeah.
We'll start with the Vanguard newspaper. The top story here, IC's security man on trail of ex-CJ Uwai's son. The riders left with his two wives about a month ago, and ex-CJN declines to comment. You have 2015 polls, APC, PDP brawl over Jega. That's on page 55. Interesting picture on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. It's Obasanjo at 78. You have former President Olusegun Obasanjo tries to block Governor Bikunle Amosu of Ogun State during a novelty match between Governor's office team and Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library team at MKO Abiola Training Beach in Abeokuta as part of activities marking the 78th birthday anniversary. The match ended 2-1 with Obasanjo scoring the 2 goals. That's amazing. I think we should start from there. In a country where they say the life expectancy is way below 50, 55, and then you see a 78-year-old former head of state still playing football.
That's right.
Do you call that, what exactly do you call that?
Well, that's, I call it extraordinary, luck. Because Obasanjo has generally been very lucky. Things work its way naturally, even without much effort. He joined the army more or less like a pauper, and he rose through the ranks and turned out to be the one to be recognized as one of the heroes of the civil war in Nigeria. He didn't participate in the coup that actually brought him to office. Is because that he is the only one that was available when he became the head of state.
Okay.
Then when the time came that there should be transition, okay, between military and civilian government. He came handy, you know, maybe because of his experience and all that, and maybe because he had always been a kind of he had always been full of activity, you know, because he was not a butter person. So he was forced to engage in exercises even before he got to the army. And when he got to the army, of course, it's a normal routine that they have to go through exercises and all that. That could have kept him as well as he is. And you also know that he doesn't bother himself so much about the stress, you know, of that the society imposed on the rest of us. You know, he's more or less, he could have done better like a stand-up comedian. You know, so he turns every, you know, every trajectory, he just makes a joke out of everything. Even when people were howling holy on him, he was also howling holy on other people. So he didn't allow anything to bother him. Maybe that's why he's able to do well.
Congratulations to Baba at 78, still playing football, quite amazing. You might want to check details of that on the Vanguard. Bombardment of Boko Haram will continue until when, says Defense Headquarters. For details of that on page 8 of the Vanguard. And Jonathan blames poor state of the Enugu-Port Harcourt road on past neglect. That's on page 15. Fuel scarcity to ease by weekend, says federal government, and oil price slump. Wando receives 47 billion naira payout. Gas City project, Ijo Shekiri agree on groundbreaking. That's on page 13. Initially, when the first Gas City kick-started, I believe at the weekend, the initial reaction of Femi Fani-Kayode, the Director General of the Jonathan campaign team, was that APC should be responsible. But then, a few days after, the Minister of Finance came out to agree that indeed we have certain funds that we are yet to pay to these marketers. How do you juxtapose both school of thoughts?
Well, with due respect, I want to say that those who appointed Femi Fani-Kayode to speak for the campaign organization is speaking for made a huge mistake, you know, because Femi Fani-Kayode speaks first and now reason later, you know, because in most of the submissions he made, if you saw when he was in the APC, he made so many remarks that actually indicted the present regime and indicted the ruling party. So when you look at the way he had been going about it, he is portraying the ruling party as a drowning, you know, man that is trying to clutch to every available straw. That is not a good advertisement for a political party that wants to win the heart of the people. Because when, as soon as people cannot attach integrity, you know, and forthrightness to whatever you say, and they don't have reasons to trust your submission, it means that every other thing you say will be heard with suspicion. So nobody will want to believe any claim.
But
that
some
the
would
party
say that Fani-Kayode is paying APC back in their own coins. Place him side by side with Lai Mohammed, who is the spokesman for the APC. Just this morning, he calls the first lady a crude, incredibly crude woman. Isn't it just the same thing for both parties?
No, you see, name calling is different from lie telling. Okay, what Fani-Kayode goes about to propagate are more fictitious. Now, when you call somebody a name, it's actually part of a kind of psychosocial, you know, concept. You know, you look at somebody and you place that person in the best position you can imagine. That's based on the outward disposition, and that is why I was saying that using a Femi Fani-Kayode, you look at the party that he defends, the persons that he defends as drowning and are ready to clutch to every available straw, even when those straws will not hold them afloat. So there are two parallel things. Now, I am not saying that the other party is also not engaging in propaganda. Okay, it's part of the game they believe they should play. As a matter of fact, sometimes they go to the extent of mudslinging. They still see it as part of the game. But when you want to mudsling, when you want to engage in propaganda, you should put integrity at the back of your mind, that whatever submission you made should not be entirely false. Okay, so that when people cross-check, they will see that at least 60% of what you have said are true. But when a situation where they discover that 100% of your submission is false.
Can you confirm that everything Kayode has said has been a lie?
No, most of the things, there are some, for example, about saying that the opposition sponsored the scarcity of fuel. That is an admission of failure for the ruling party or the cabinet that is ruling us. The way that they have submitted their capacity to determine what goes on in the country to the opposition, who is not in government. The country, the ruling class is supposed to be more powerful in terms of fund, in terms of coercive authority and instrument, in terms of everything that can make them to subdue any person or group of persons that want to turn the hand of their clock backwards. So once they are unable to do that, it means that they have thrown away, they have failed in effective and efficient use of the governing instrument that is at their disposal.
It's all right. Let's move away from the Vanguard this morning, find out what the top stories are on the front page of The Guardian. Regular use of paracetamol causes heart attack. Others, the writers here, NAFDAC, FDA alert on drugs adverse effects. Urge Nigerians to report cases to care provider. Banks open $500 million fresh LCs for oil marketers. The government pays 30 billion forex differentials today. Lecturer body to test run card readers on Saturday. That's on page 7. And while Lagos deserves special status, you find details on page 16 of The Guardian. Court orders INEC to register Young Democratic Party. That's on page 77. Abuja indigents caution against politicizing Jonathan's land ownership. Page 5 of The Guardian. Senate defers screening of Obanikoro, 3 others till next week. Page 6. And stakeholders unite against campaigns of calumny. Page 7. Well, from the onset of nominating Obanikoro as ministerial nominee, the opposition APC senators came up to say no way, given the role he played in the alleged, the leaked audio file, or audio tape rather, on the June 21 Ekiti state election. But the amazing part about this particular clip is that there was an initial denial on the part of some. As a matter of fact, on this show, we spoke with one of the aides of Governor Fayashe, who said that was not the voice of his principal. Later on, Fayashe came out to say, I was the one. But even Femi Fani-Kayode came up to say there was nothing in that particular clip that seemed to have indicted any of the PDP stakeholders, and that eventually could have faulted the credibility of that election. Would you see it as a major reason why Obanikoro shouldn't be given another chance?
Well, it is just one of the reasons. If you look at the performance of Obanikoro while in office, he was accused of so many misuse of power at his disposal. Remember, he was said to be in Ekiti State during that period, and that what led to the recording that became viral in the social media before official position are taken about it. Remember also that Umisore has actually accentuated, the truism of the recording. Okay. He said that I only said calm down, calm down, calm down. That he didn't speak much. So they have actually authenticated the claim. Now, before the recording, Obanikoro was in Osun State. He was alleged to be the one leading the army that occupied Osun State during that period. People, especially those in the opposition, didn't like that. And they said that he was part of those who stopped even state governors from entering Ekiti State during that period. So a lot of misgivings have been on the ground even before the recording became public. So, and when you look at the role that he played, actually telling a general, threatening actually that, military engagement is supposed to be a professional thing. It is not something that should be controlled by the politician. But he was threatening that the promotion of the gentleman depends on how well he made him happy in Ekiti election. That was loaded. And he actually confirmed that he was not doing what he did on his own volition, but he was representing the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, you remember what Governor Fashola accused him of doing around Ilubiri while they are trying to develop that place into an estate. Although we are also against, the reclaiming of the lagoon when there are drier land that could be used for estate. But then he didn't have to, move the military to that estate with a view to harassing the state government out of the place. So when you misuse power, that is what it calls abuse of power. And if you are allowed access to similar or the same level of power or even higher level power, you are likely to corrupt that power more absolutely than you did before, because he might be coming with a view to unleash more terror, and that is a vengeance.
As it stands now, the PDP still has majority at the floor of the Senate. Do you foresee the APC flying?
Well, the thing is that, first and foremost, you still need APC senators in Lagos State to do certain aspect of the authentication for him. Apart from that, even the minority will still have their say, in the Senate. And that say can be strong enough to cast aspersions on whatever is considered for the approval of such a candidate. But for me, I believe that Obanikoro had a fair share of his time in governance. Okay, he's been an ambassador, he's been a senator, he's been a
there are other people who have been in power
so
he doesn't have to.
That is one thing we are even saying, that the system should not continue to recycle the same set of people as if there are no more people of capacity to do the function they are hiring them to do. So they should stop that. Yes.
Let's get to the phone line this morning and feel the pulse of our viewers on these issues. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr.
Good morning, Tochukwu from Anambra. How are you today?
I'm very fine. Very fine.
Please go ahead with the contribution.
Okay, my contribution this morning is basically the continuous one wolf crying of the APC. You see, there is this question you ask your guests, if Nifani Kayode or PDP, as it were, is staying the opposition in their own coin. I quite agree with you. You remember I told you yesterday about how an opposition came and told lie in the public television, and funny enough, the person involved called in and corrected that impression. If the person had not called in, we would have taken that as true. You see, we're in the political season, and one lie you quench or get a reaction. You see, so I don't think that what we should be discussing here is what the press statement of a party as against this party, or the press statement of a particular candidate against this person. What we should be talking about is the manifestos of these political parties. And I took my time and I placed, for the first time, I placed the manifesto of APC and PDP side by side. My brother, I discovered that they are the same. There is no point anybody deceiving us about things. They are the same, both in course of action. The only difference is that PDP is banking on what they have done, and APC is banking on what they will do. So let nobody deceive us about change or about transformation. They are all the same type of people. So what we all accept as duty as individuals is to analyze these personalities involved and vote for our choice.
It's all right. Thank you very much, Tochukwu, for your contribution today from Anambra. Have we also thought about the moral implication of this Ekiti audio tape for the society? I mean, a clip of that graffiti came up and nothing was done about it. The explanation from some parts of opinion divide would be that probably is the same thing both parties do. It looks as if the higher regard just eventually win an election.
Well, the thing is that there is a party that is using state machinery to do what he had to do. Okay, there are others that are only using personal and maybe collective efforts to do their own rigging. Generally, you look at it, any bourgeois, democracy will want to outdo one another, both in propaganda and at rigging one another. If the APC elements also have the opportunity and capacity, they may do what is being done by the ruling class. But the truth is that it doesn't portray us in good light, especially in the international community, that such a thing actually happened during an election.
But for the society not to even rebel or react to it, does it tell anything?
No, people are reacting, within the limit of their own capacity. It is the authorities that is supposed to take it up from where they found it. That is, whoever is behind that, recording, and all of those who were part of that discussion could have been questioned by the authorities by now, and some of them could have been charged to court, with whatever. But that is more or less like a treasonable thing, to which they ought to have been charged by now. But they are walking the streets, free people, because maybe the power that be is complicit, truly complicit in the discussion that was held, or maybe they tolerated it because it could have turned out in their favor.
Let's take this call. Just a minute. Okay. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Yeah, welcome to Call Digest. What's your name?
My name is Charles. I'm calling from Warri.
Charles from Warri. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, the thing I always observe from Tochukwu, the man calling from Anambra always. Each time he calls in, I don't even see any meaningful contribution from his own side. I don't know if you stop picking his call because he doesn't contribute positively to the argument, on ground.
I could as well stop picking your own call too.
There are excellent issues here and there. He's not contributing to the issue on ground.
Okay, can you make?
He's already analyzing issue the way it should be, but he will just come in and you see him diverting issue and society.
Charles, can you focus on the discussion and leave Tochukwu for a while? What exactly is your contribution on this issue?
All right, my contribution is that whatever the Senate is trying to do regarding to screening of Banikoro should be properly done. Like again, you said, based on his past character, he has portrayed wrong attitude because he was opportune to be in power. So if we want to move forward, we should try to screen the kind of people we bring, into positions, so that we don't get things moved up. People use power because they are in power, they are in power, they want to intimidate people, just like that. So your guest here has said it all.
It's all right, Charles.
There are more people, there are more capable people that can handle powers, not restricting on one school. The same people coming every time. They should look for a type of people.
Thank you, Charles from Warri, for your contribution. I don't know if it's Fani Kayode, Lai Mohammed and Shehu Garba that is a rubbing off on Nigerians, or we are the one rubbing off on them, because Charles almost was going to take up another caller on the issue. It's the same thing, leaving the issue to attack personality, isn't it?
You see, if you look at most of the campaign items, this is the first time you see a ruling party, so to say. I'm not a fan of the opposition. You know, like I said, even the party I could have supported is generally unsung, you know, because those that I believe can deliver the goods are not any of those, you know, frontline ones, you know. But when you look at the ruling party engaging in personality, where I find it difficult to use some words on air. You know, when they begin to engage in personality assessment and the rest of them, they are not telling us why things have not been working, how they are going to make it to work better when they get back to power. But instead of doing that, they pick on the opposition. They are engaging in film making on the opposition, on documentary that doesn't say anything about the future of Nigeria, that doesn't say why we are where we are. Why don't we have power in Nigeria? Why our roads are still bad? Why is it that our school system is still not producing employable graduates? Why is it that healthcare delivery is not available here? We have to travel abroad before we can assess qualitative. They are not telling us how they are going to ameliorate these issues. But what they are telling us is how bad somebody who was a military head of state...
the issues to talk about personalities.
As a personality, he was a military head of state, was not democratic when he was a military head of state. What a contradiction. I see it as being petty and inane, you know, because if a serious party want to address issues, in fact, by the time they address the issues of infrastructural development, nobody will want to think about what the opposition had to say. If they had had the opportunity of implementing what they have. If you look at even the military days that we are talking about, most of the roads in Lagos were constructed during military days. No additional road of that magnitude has been constructed during the civilian era. So what has happened?
Turn our attention to our Twitter handle at Call Digest Live. You can follow us on that platform and make your opinions and contributions known in case we can't reach you or can't take your calls on the show today. This is coming from Yuyu Sheu. Obanikoro was heard blackmailing the general in that tape by mentioning promotion board. It's too dubious to be a minister. At Call Digest Live is the Twitter handle, and we'll also love to hear from you on that platform. Let's quickly move away from The Guardian to the Punch newspaper this morning. The top story here, APC fire Shea in war of words over Jega. We know why Fayose is so vociferous. It's because it got there through army rigging, says the APC. And then on the other side, Fayose is saying the noise being made by the APC will amount to nothing. If the president removes Jega, heavens will not fall. The removal of Jega has also been another interesting topic for discussion, especially among interested Nigerians. At the point the PDP came out to say, why is the APC so concerned about Jega? Is it that there is a romantic relationship between the party and the INEC chief? Do you think it should be about the personality or the system itself? All of us at the point in time have claimed that INEC has not done well, especially with the distribution of the PVCs, given the number of years they had to prepare.
Well, first and foremost, I should tell you that there hadn't been any electoral umpire in Nigeria that has done better than Jega. I mean, Jega's regime. None has got to the part that he has been to. That is aside. Now, two, is that this is also the first time that you have a ruling party asking that his own appointee, you know, want to rig it out of power, you know, and what could have amounted to that? Are they saying that there's no checks and balances? Is nobody oversighting what they're doing? I mean, it is the same ruling class that approve of everything that Jega had been doing. Okay, it is the same ruling party. When they have spoken about so many things. Okay. Talking about registration, registration was done to 2011. Of course, the preparation, according to those who knew production of PVC could not start on time because the system didn't release the necessary fund on time. If they had released it in 2011, I'm sure that by now.
So you're saying it's not the fault of INEC?
So yes, the truth is that it is like a calculated thing that the funds will not be made available until the late hour of 2014. That was when Jega told all of us that, look, every dime that he needed had been released, and that's when they started producing it. And if you have to produce as many as almost 70 million cards, and you are not producing it on our shores, it's likely to take time. But that I'm not coding brief for the INEC. There are so many things they have said. But the truth again is that why is it now that the ruling party know that we are not supposed to use card readers, which they had approved and they have released funds for? Why are they now arguing that card readers are electronic device, as if the computer that was used to even do the registration in the first instance are not electronic device? If every process, from appointing Jega, who now have become part of the process, then we are going to go back into the Stone Ages when we don't need to use anything that has to do with including.
But have you also considered the point that why test a card reader with a major election? Why didn't you try it out when we had staggered elections in the past?
My brother, the truth is that there hasn't been any time when we did as much, test run as we have been doing. PVC was used in Ekiti and Osun, although no card reader. But I tell you, how many times did they test run the computers they used for registration before they use it? Did they manufacture? Were there major complaints of malfunctioning of those computers that they use? And apart from the computers, you still have the printing devices with which the biometric were captured. How many times was it test run before we did the registration?
Just a minute, sir. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to Call Digest. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Alaji, good morning. How are you today?
Morning, how are you?
Terrific. Please go ahead with your contribution.
You see, the issue of the APC PDP, it has reached the level of where somebody can think of partnership. All APC is trying to do is that the election was held. All PDP is trying to do, how are they going to create the election? Because from all indication, this very man that is appointed by the president, and being appointed of the president, then I don't think that the PDP should have any fear unless if they are not ready for this election. And from all the indication, since when the National Security Advisor went to London and that time bomb for the postponement of the election, and now the election has been postponed, and now PDP is going the other way, trying to postpone this election again. That's why APC is trying to tell Nigerians that constitutionally, the INEC has amended to conduct election 90 days to hand over, which is not possible. Now we have 30 days to hand over. After this election has been postponed, there's no place for provincial government. And I'm advising anybody who has the interest of this country for the continued peace and political stability of this country. Let those who are in power agree this election should hold. Anybody who will hand over to, because Nigeria is better than any individual. And for this reason, we have seen about the region to us. Nigerians are more educated, are more politically aware. Even if they see what is happening, any step that government will try to take before it is blown out. So I don't think we have passed that stage. So I'm advising those who are in control of the power, let them allow the election to come. Allow the people to exercise their rights. We are talking about PVC. Now PVC has gone. We are going back to the courts. All this will not solve this problem. The country is going down economically, politically, security-wise. So what is happening? Children are complaining, and Nigerians are complaining that the Nigerian government is not giving them to fight Boko Haram. And now they have more benefits that go
praying that Chad, Niger, and Cameroon should capture Sheko alive. We don't have anything to capture him alive. Because when you capture alive, more parts will come out. Who are the hiding? Who are the successful? So let's start deceiving ourselves. Let's pray for this country so that we can have a peaceful election, so that Nigeria continuity.
It's all right. Thank you very much for your contribution, Halaji Dangwigwe from Kaduna. Just a minute, let's quickly...
Let me just a quick point. You see, from the body language of the ruling party and their advertisers, you discover that they simply don't like the way Jega is conducting himself, to the extent that he's not cooperating with them. Remember, there was a time when they said INEC, database was hacked into. Jega came out to say that nobody could hack into his database. There was a time also when they said that it's not likely to be able to distribute to produce even the PVC. He said that all the PVC have been produced and they have distributed it, that they were not ready for the election. He said that they were ready except for the military or the security agencies that were threatening that they would not guarantee security of the election. So when you look at it, all of these are coming from the same direction. Now, up to this moment, it's still the same ruling party that is. Like I said, I am not a fan of the main opposition party. I even have so many friends in the ruling party, but I've told my friends there that, look, the way they are conducting themselves, they are being too petty. They engage in inanities rather than, substance of the issues that should affect the life of our of the people of this country. So they are not conducting themselves as matured enough, even when they have ruled for more than 16 years. So why should they now engage in all this? It is the opposition that's supposed to be saying all what they are saying, taking on their appointee by themselves. It is sad.
It's all right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I've been speaking with DEBO ADEDIRAN, Chairman, Coalition Against Corrupt Leaders. It's good to have you always. We'll take another break now and we'll be back with more on Core Digest. Stick around. Don't go away.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as a wife, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on Core TV News.